Hey everybody, it's Adam from IHP and we're here for another episode of JC Unplugged. I just looked back, we've been doing this since 2015, so 3 years into this, as many as we can get done in a calendar year.
Time flies.
Yep. You've got some travels coming up. You're going to where in June?
I'm going to, well, we got mentorships from Argentina. That ends on a Friday. That same Friday I go to Ecuador, I come back. Then 2 weeks later I got Carolina. Luckily that's the only break I get for the year. It's my college reunion with about 8 friends that we do every year in the mountains of the Carolinas. It's the only fun I'm having. And then come back, 10 days after that I'm in China. Then it's mentorships. We got Colombia, we have Costa Rica, we have Lima, Peru, we have China again in August, China again in December, and I don't even know what we have in between. So
what can we do to make you have more fun other than Carolina?
that's it, man. I'm allowed 3 or 4 days a year, and that is it. Because even vacations with the kids, you need a vacation when you come back. So.
All right, let's get started right into the first question. What is the difference between overreaching and overtraining?
One is planned, the other one is not. Okay. Overreaching is planned overtraining, where you just try to get to the point where you're just about overtrained to the point of no return, and then you pull back. And then you have what's called the super compensation that was described by Bompa back in the 90s, and your body overshoots, because your body overshoots all the time. When our fighters make weight, for example, they drop 20 pounds, let's say that they start the weight cut at 205, they drop to 185 in 4 days. When they come back, they don't come back to 205, they come back to 207, 209. So there's always an overcompensation, so the overcompensation is to make you stronger than the initial state that you were in.
So overreaching is planned. Obviously, we don't want to get to overtraining.
Right.
So what are some of the signs as we start working with athletes for longer than a month? We start working them for a full calendar year. What are some of the signs that we can look for when they start getting into that overtraining?
Well, the first one is they're tired, but they write that off because I'm doing 2 a days. Of course, I'm going to be tired. Then there's pains that won't go away. Okay, then they write that one off because I'm a combat athlete or I'm a tennis player. Everything hurts. I'm an elite athlete. I'm pushing my body, so it's supposed to hurt. Boom. Then after that one is insomnia. All right, I can't sleep, and that one starts to bother them. But eventually, that they even write off because you're always stressed out. And then after that comes upper respiratory infections. Then they don't ignore that one. Then they go on antibiotics. Some of our athletes are known for overtraining, although they've been educated, they know they're looking for it. They don't look for it enough, and they end up so much so that we have actually programmed a week in to their power endurance, making power endurance now 5 or 6 weeks, because we know that 3 or 4 weeks out, they're gonna start to get the sore throat, maybe go on antibiotics, and we kind of lose the steam for about 10 days. So I've already programmed it with some people. Some people are perfect.
Okay. Another question here. What could be your training approach for training legs and glutes for people with bad backs?
People with bad backs, man, and people with bad knees, same thing. The glutes are right in the middle of the 3 amigos, paraspinals and hamstrings. Okay, so let's call it spine and knees. And they're right in the middle. So you either have to get to the glutes through the knees, or you got to get to the glutes through the back. So if you have a bad back, then how do you work the glutes from the glutes out? And so that happened. I came up on that when my knees were injured, because I couldn't do that, and I couldn't even do deadlifts very well because my knees hurt so much. So I started doing some of the ABA deductions that we see with bands, and I called my buddy Brett Contreras and talked to him, studied some of his stuff. So he was kind of the guy who really helped me devise our system. And of course, like everybody, you take somebody's training theories or approaches, and you add a little bit of your own based on your experience, and you get something hopefully a little bit fatter. Like when people take our hybrids and then or our metabolics, and then they add their own twists, oftentimes they come up with great stuff, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So the ABA deductions, just the band training and the hip thrust progressions, phenomenal. So now we're actually training backs from the glute out, which we've never done before. And Brett Contreras was the one who put that on the map, and all it is a bunch of women exercises that have been here for, I don't even know, for 50 years, but people didn't take to them that were training heavy.
Right.
And so Brett Contreras, I think, was the first one to put some meat in those exercises. And then of course Harrison and The Rock and all these guys masculinized these exercises. And we're doing isometrics, we're doing eccentrics, we're using huge bands, we're getting really, really, really strong glutes, really strong glutes. So I have Brett Contreras to thank for that. So your ABA deductions, if you guys want to see a bunch of great stuff, go to Brett Contreras, the glute guy, YouTube, and see the band circuit. He's got about 6 or 7 great exercises there. We put a little starch on them, but Brett Contreras is the man. You got to give him that.
All right. All right. How do you deal with DOMS, with new clients who have never worked out before, and they get a little discouraged over the 2 days after their initial workout? They're a little discouraged. Not sure I want to come back. I'm sore.
The way I deal with that is on the front side. I let them know, and I try to be really, really, really gentle, and tell the trainers to be really gentle, and let them know that, listen, if you're going to want to go right now because everything feels great and you warm up and all this, it's going to seem fantastic, and trust me, even if you don't go very hard, tomorrow you're going to end up like crippled and sore and stuff like that. We don't want that, so trust me when I tell you you want to go light today. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And when it works, great. They listen to you, you went easy, they took that first session as an orientation and just to get going. And when it doesn't, they don't listen to you because they think they're all that, then they're sore. And you know what, frankly, they deserve it. So there you have it. And then I tell them, I told you so. Next time you'll listen to me. Boom. We've never had it. No, I don't know. We've had too many people quit because of delayed unlock. Because our trainers are pretty good about the progression, and we're pretty good about telling them, listen, you don't want to do this other set because you won't stand up tomorrow. You know, but you know how it is. Some fighters overtrain. No matter how much you tell them, and no matter how much they don't want to overtrain, and they're looking for it, they overtrain. Some people overdo it, and they have a sore ass the next day. So worst things have happened.
It is what it is. Right?
It is what it is.
All right, one more question here. I'm not sure even how to ask this because it's a really long question. But we've seen a lot of training and trainers just starting to combine a whole bunch of exercises into one big mess.
Slob of shit.
Standing on Bosu balls, throwing medicine balls, standing on stability balls, and doing rotational throws. How did this all come about? That's probably
It's an overshoot.
Of your opinion.
It's an overshoot. It's an overshoot. All right. So what was happening in the early '90s? Everybody was doing bodybuilding. There was no functional training. Yeah, Gary Gray was out with his thing, and Vern Gambetta was out with his thing. But there were fringe people. The majority of everything, 99.999% done in a gym, was either some kind of aerobics class or bodybuilding. That was it in the early '90s. That's what we had. So of course we came out with all this functional training, and the young cats at that time, Michael Clark, Mike Boyle, myself, Greg Cook, and the whole clan from the MF Athletic Perform Better tour. We went out and this thing just blew up. Every popular magazine caught on to it. Hell, the first time I ever talked to someone from the press about an anterior reach was Men's Journal. Men's Journal beat everybody else to functional training with an anterior reach back in 94, 95. So, once, this is cool, and everybody jumps on it, and then in the early 2000s, you have social media now blowing up. It was here earlier, but man, in 2000, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there?
2003,
around there,
2004.
it blew up. So now, wow, just everything blows up. Everybody who thinks they know functional training blows up. And now everybody's a superstar, everybody's an expert, everybody's an author, everybody's a presenter, everybody has their own DVD. And so it's an overshoot. Boom! Now crazy shit is functional training. I mean, insane stuff, acrobatic stuff that, look, I used to buy into it, but hopefully we evolve. I brought in all the balance stuff I learned from John Bleeverneck, and I brought in a lot of the balance stuff on stability balls when I did my stability ball videos in 97, 98. I did it, you know, and you can see it in my functional training. So yeah, at that time, we thought that balance and proprioception and all that was all that, and we took it for a test run. And then we figured out real quick what it did and what it didn't do. And as soon as we found out that it didn't do some things, we stopped using it. It's evolution, man. Yeah, so yeah, I was part of the balance stuff with John Blevernick. I was part of the, you know, balance on the stability ball and proprioceptive stuff from all the, you know, therapists that were there. I was part of the transfercept dominance from Hodges and Cresswell and Robinson, the Australians. I was part of all that. And I pushed all that because that was the latest at the time. But damn, man, take it for a test run and don't be married to it. Take it for an honest test run, and if it fails, just say, I ain't doing this no more. And then just say, you know what, we did this and this and this, and it failed miserably. We don't do that anymore. We do this instead. Boom. Some people don't do that. Some people get caught up in their ego, and they just want us to be right to eternity. And you're not going to be right to eternity. By the same token, don't change your mind about training every friggin' year, too, because then that shows you ain't thinking for shit, you know? So that means you're buying into every fad. If you got to change your stuff every year, you're buying into every fad. So you should be right 80%, 70% of the time, and then the other 20 or 30 should be evolving over years.
You think some of these so-called circus exercises are starting to dissolve a little bit, kind of disappear?
Yeah, we're getting back to basics. It's going to take another 5 years, but then who knows what else is going to come in. You know, it may be something that you take. It may be, I don't know, oxygenation in the room. It may be that. Hey, blow this thing into the air and you're going to be able to use more oxygen. You know, who knows what's next? You know, drink this, blow this shit into the air, wear this. You know, we went through the whole magnet thing. Magnet this, then the copper bracelets, and everyone's copper this, and put copper on your ass and whatever, you know? And so we're blowing through all that stuff. Shape weight, you know? All that shit. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there because as long as there's lazy ass people that will buy hope in a bottle, there's going to be some guy that's going to package that shit in a bottle and sell it to you. So, you know, but in the industry, I think we're little by little, we're getting back to more basics.